and this is the 15K formula product. So, this is really the higher end stuff. And so I want to do a couple things here today. The first thing I want to do is I'll do a little introduction. I promise I won't take too long with it because I want to dive into some content. But, one of the things I want to do today is really provide content. I want to get right into it. I'm a content trainer. It's what I do. I'm not going to focus on the basics because I think that if you've gotten this point to the 15K, you're going to find your basics in other places. You're going to find it in the 8 first core steps that you're walking through. You're going to find it in some of the basic getting started blogging training that's out there. So I'm going to make a couple assumptions. I'm going to make an assumption that you've got some basic knowledge, but you're looking for something a little bit more advanced. You're really looking to take blogging to the next level and be able to make it profitable. So with that being said, let me just tell you a little bit about myself. As David Wood said, my name's Chris Record. I'm currently a stay-at-home internet marketer. I don't do Empower Network full-time. I actually have another 60-hour per week gig that I do. It's with a mobile app company. It's publicly traded. I'm more or less an employee over there, but I love what I do. It's all about just being passionate what you do. I sought out Empower Network because it fit in perfectly with what I was looking to do. I'm currently living in California, in Northern California, up in Roseville. I've been doing this for about 10 years. I wouldn't say I was a successful internet marketer for 10 years, but I've been in the game for about 10 years. I remember starting to design websites back in the day, and I was back in the days of Alta Vista and Lycos and Dogpile, and for some of you on the webinar, you're probably familiar with everything there. And before I get started in today's webinar, let me share with you, some of the early success that I had in hopes that you can learn from some of my mistakes as well as some of my successes. Okay, so I'm going to share with you a little bit of both. Background on me: I made my first 6 figures online back in 2005. Now the crazy thing is before making my first 6 figures online, I actually I was flat broke. I was living in a 250 square foot studio. I really had no job. I was just selling little $200 websites. I was just scraping to get by. But what happened was I began to leverage something called Google AdSense. Google AdSense hit the scene. This is actually a screenshot of my income back then, and this is actually daily income. So as you can see, I was averaging anywhere between $300 to $400 to $500, all the way up to $1,000. Now, this income came because blogs came to the scene. There was this new thing called blogging, and I didn't know a whole lot about it, but you could create these blogs and you could put Google AdSense on them, and if you could figure out a way to drive traffic, you could make some money there. So here I was, I was in a 250 square foot studio. My girlfriend at the time had a 300 square foot studio, so I was always crashing out at her pad because it was so much bigger, all that extra space, but that's where I started with. This is how I started, was basically working out of these little small studios making this kind of money. So all the strategy I used to generate back then was blogging. I was primarily focused on blogging about trending news and online product reviews. So that's something that I'm going to share with you a little bit today, is just kind of how to target some subjects that can drive a lot of traffic. And this is way back before blogging was popular. I mean, WordPress had just hit the scene, but nobody was really using it, or at least nobody I knew. And you were using all these just different funny little blogging services. So what was the secret to my success back then? It was all Google. Google had hit the scene. Google was the fresh new search engine. No more of that Alta Vista and Lycos and Dogpile and Ask Jeeves. It was all about getting traffic to Google. Until then, really, Yahoo was my best, main source. But then Google hit the scene. It changed everything. I discovered how to actually rank my articles on the first page of Google for tons of top keyword phrases. Every article I wrote had ads by Google placed on them, and every time somebody clicked on one of those ads, that's how I was getting paid. So I loved it. Basically, I could get free traffic to my blog, and I was getting paid from that. Little did I know that simple strategy would result in a 6-figure income. But this is where I want to make it very clear to everybody on this 15K formula webinar. Despite the success, I still made a very crucial mistake, huge mistake. I didn't build a list. So here I was making a 6-figure income, but no list show for it whatsoever. People would come to my site, click an ad, and they were gone. And all I got was these little checks that added up, but they were gone. A couple of years later, I actually got into direct sales. Now, I had always been in direct sales. I'm one of those guys that can relate to David Wood, because back in 1999, I got started with Quickstar, which was basically Amway. And, it was a fun way to make no money for me back then, but it was a great learning ground. And, so I was always attracted to the direct sales industry. So I found myself in a direct sales company. I decided to try out some of these internet marketing strategies to see if I could generate some leads there. As a result, not only was I able to make a large 6-figure income with that company, but I actually had my first 6-figure month. Now, to some of you here on this 15K webinar, I mean, making basically just $15,000 a month, right, would be phenomenal. But what if you could make $150,000 in a single month? Well, that's exactly what I did. Not just $15,000 a month, but $150,000 in a month. And so here's a quick little screenshot. As you can see there, I'll leave it up just long enough you could at least count the numbers. But those are basically my checks. Now, one thing I want to point out is, like, look at that, March 12th, 25,000, 4 days later, 16,000, 3 days later, 5,000. Now, what's really cool is that this company is actually no longer around. This was sort of one of those companies that was hot for a moment. I got in, I applied the strategies. But what I love about Empower Network is that you can make this kind of money with Empower Network. In fact, I believe you can make a heck of a lot more with Empower Network, and that's what's so exciting about it. I'm really quickly going to flash this picture of Bora Bora because this is why it's all worth it to me, right? Is basically we're on top of the world. We're making great money. I actually went to Bora Bora on a company trip, and I proposed to my wife right there, as you can see, in those white sandy beaches with that crystal blue water. And I got down on one knee actually in the water and proposed. And, now we're married and we've got kids. I have 2 kids under 2. So if anybody's watching this webinar and you're thinking, man, I'm really busy, I can relate. I've got 2 boys under 2. In fact, my newest edition is just 2 weeks old. So as I'm doing this webinar here, I'm at home in the other room. I've got a little 2-week-old, cute little boy, loving life. And this is the reason to do it, So I'm just trying to set the right foundation. We're going to talk about some blogging strategies, but you have to really be driven as what is your why? What is the reason you're doing this? All right, despite all that massive money I was making, I made a very crucial mistake. Can you guess what it was? I didn't build a list. I still didn't build a list. All right, check this out. Late 2009, I started getting into social media marketing. I actually had my first $50,000 month from Facebook alone. Believe it or not, just contacting people on Facebook using this Facebook method I developed. It was crazy. All the connections were amazing. Everybody was, it was just working really well. But despite doing that, I kept making the same mistake. I know you can guess what it was this time, right? I didn't build a list. So why is this so important? It's because there's a lot of people out there having success, but they're not really harnessing the power of what they have. We have a viral blogging platform here, but I really want to make sure everybody understands what's really going on and why this is so important. Fast forward to today. Today, I'm doing consulting for a publicly traded company, creating automated passive income, teaching people how to make money online now with Empower Network. But this time around, everything's different. I'm focused on building a list. So I'm going to encourage you, don't make the same mistakes that I made. I learned a long time ago that wisdom comes from 2 places, mistakes and mentors. So hopefully you won't have to have the same mistakes that I made early on. And I want to make sure that you take the strategies you're going to learn today and you build a huge email list with them. All right, with that being said, today we're going to focus on the 3 C's of marketing. So if you've got a pen and paper out, what I want you to write down right now is the 3 C's of marketing. Okay, here's the 3 C's. Now, these are the 3 C's of online marketing, and I really learned this from David Wood. When I first joined Empower Network, I did not have these 3 C's of marketing. And David Wood didn't necessarily say them in this order or make them all C's. That's just something I did there. But this is really the essence of what I learned here, okay? In a nutshell, I'm going to try to teach you how to create more traffic. Okay, that's what we're going to do here. Capture more leads and convert more sales. Now, it's not my goal to teach you all of that tonight. That's sort of the whole foundation of what Empower Network is, in my opinion.
Guys, Ron here. Hey, listen, the reason why I really wanted to make this video was to show you guys you want to have a list. You want to build a list. A list is very, very important. Without a list, you're not going to have nothing. Okay? That's the whole gist of this video. I was trying to make a point. Chris Record, he's a very high 6-figure mentor. And when he first started off, that was his mistake. But you all don't have to do that today. And don't forget the 3 C's. Create more traffic, capture more leads, and convert more sales. Okay? I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.